It all started with a laser pointer and a bowl of half-eaten tuna. The sun was barely up, and the neighborhood was silent, save for the occasional bark of a confused dog, or the rhythmic hum of a delivery drone flying overhead. Inside a tiny cluttered house on Maple Street, a very large, very orange cat lay sprawled across a scratched-up wooden floor, snoring like an engine in slow motion. This cat wasn't just any cat. He was fat. Not chubby, not round. He was the kind of fat that made people stop and say, "Whoa." His belly rolled over like melted cheese, his legs barely visible beneath the fluff, and his tail often disappeared into folds no one dared to explore. But in his dreams, he was agile. He was lightning fast. He was a hero. He twitched in his sleep, his paw batting at imaginary enemies. In his dreams, he was battling mutant hamsters atop a flaming mountain made of kibble. His name, in these dreams, Commander Chunk, defender of catnip, slayer of vacuums. Suddenly, a red dot appeared on the wall. It moved, and so did he. The laser pointer danced across the walls like a mischievous sprite. The fat orange cat, eyes now wide, pupils dilated to dinner plates, scrambled to life like a thunderstorm in a fur coat. He slid across the hardwood floor, his massive body thumping like a drumbeat as he tried to follow the elusive light. Up the couch, over the coffee table, past the knocked-over lamp, nothing would stop him. His chonky determination was unmatched. Unbeknownst to him, the laser pointer wasn't held by his owner, who was still snoring away in the bedroom. The laser pointer had fallen onto a robotic vacuum, the cat's sworn enemy. The vacuum zigzagged across the floor with the laser dangling off its side, mocking him like a bully with a squirt gun. The chase grew more intense. The cat howled, leaped, slid, and even bounced once off a beanbag chair. And then, the vacuum, tired of the chaos, bumped into the basement door. It creaked open. The laser rolled down the stairs, so did the cat. There was a crash, a yowl, and then silence. The basement was cluttered with strange equipment boxes of wires, blinking lights, a dusty telescope, and in the center of it all, a pod dot no one knew. The house's previous owner had once been a failed inventor. He'd tried to build a machine that could launch objects into orbit. Most people thought it was junk. Most people were right, except today, because when the fat cat landed on the dusty red button labeled, "Do not press," everything whirred to life. The pod hissed. Doors slid open. Mechanical arms activated, grabbing the stunned feline by the scruff and dropping him into a cushioned seat. A seat made suspiciously for a body of his proportions. A screen flickered on with the words, "Launch sequence activated." The cat blinked. He meowed. He tried to wiggle out. Too late. The basement rumbled. Lights flickered. The washing machine turned itself on in fear. Then came the countdown. 10. He looked around. 9. He pawed at the glass. 8. A bag of cat treats floated by. 7. He opened his mouth. Caught one. 6. He was starting to enjoy this. 5. He leaned back. 4. He burped. 3. He scratched his ear. 2. He blinked slowly. 1. Blast off. A boom shook the neighborhood. The ground cracked slightly as the old house's basement burst open, launching the pod into the sky like a firework made of fur and meows. The fat cat's face flattened against the glass as G-forces pushed him back. He yowled, a mix between a scream and a confused burp. Clouds zipped past, then stars, then silence. He was in space, floating, alone, slightly gassy. The pod stabilized, and the cat floated out of his seat, limbs flailing in slow motion. His belly jiggled gently in zero gravity, and he began to do somersaults, completely unaware of what had just happened. Outside the pod, the earth looked like a marble. Inside the pod, the fat orange hero had just entered a new chapter of his life. Suddenly, a holographic voice echoed through the cabin. "Welcome, Commander Chunk. You are the chosen one." He spun midair, meowed in confusion, and accidentally hit a button with his paw. The screen lit up, revealing an alien message translated in subtitles. "The Catnip Nebula is under siege. The galaxy needs you. Activate mission mode." The fat cat tilted his head. A second voice appeared, this one, sounding more casual and a bit sarcastic. "Or just float here forever and fart in zero gravity. Your choice, buddy." He pressed the button. The pod beeped. It transformed. Metal panels shifted, opening compartments filled with odd gadgets. A helmet shaped like a fishbowl, boots with suction cups, and a cape with Meoforce printed on it. He didn't understand any of it, but the cape was soft, With a sudden jolt, the pod changed direction. It zoomed past asteroids, around moon craters, and toward a strange glowing cloud in the distance. The Catnip Nebula dot back on Earth. No one had noticed. His owner was still asleep. The neighbors just assumed another drone had exploded. But up above, in the stars, history was being made. As the pod entered the nebula, everything turned green. Misty, glowing clouds swirled outside like fog made of glitter. Then, a shape appeared. It looked like a mouse, but metallic dot, with glowing red eyes, and a long razor tail. The fat cat hissed instinctively. A voice crackled through the speakers again. Commander Chunk, you have entered enemy territory. The robo patrolled this zone. Do not engage unless provoked. The cat blinked, then accidentally stepped on another button. The pod launched a meow-powered torpedo. Torpedo.oops. The explosion echoed through the nebula, and suddenly, dozens of red dots appeared on the radar. Robo-mice ships were locking in. One even had cheese painted on the side, but with skulls. They were coming. Sirens blared. The fat cat scrambled into a seat, helmet half on, tail flicking wildly. He reached for anything that looked like a steering wheel and grabbed hold of a joystick that vibrated like a purring kitten. Laser beams flew past. The pod jolted. He squeaked not in fear, but in excitement. For the first time in his life, he wasn't chasing a laser. He was dodging real ones. With a loud yowl, the fat cat pressed every button in reach. The pod rolled, flipped, and zipped between enemy ships like a marble in a blender. He didn't know what he was doing. He didn't care. It was awesome. Then dash boom. A direct hit. The pod spun out of control. Lights flickered. The engines sparked. Alarms rang louder. And then, silence. The pod floated dead in space. The screens went black. The fat cat was weightless once again, spinning slowly with a single kibble stuck to his helmet. It seemed like the end, until another ship appeared. This one was covered in stickers. Bright, colorful stickers. One said pause off. Another said I break for tuna. And on the side, written in neon green, SS Sassy Pause. A voice echoed through the pod's emergency channel. This is Captain Miozot, of the SS Sassy. You looked like you needed a paw. The fat cat floated closer to the screen, his eyes wide. A docking clamp extended. The pod shook, and then the doors opened. Light spilled in, and so did the smell of grilled salmon. The door hissed as it opened, revealing a hallway bathed in pink lights, and lined with shimmering string cheese tubes and sardine-scented air filters. Commander Chunk floated forward slowly, like a balloon at a confused birthday party. His helmet fogged up with every breath, his tail doing gentle pirouettes in zero gravity. His eyes widened. Standing at the entrance was the most majestic feline he had ever seen. A sleek silver tabby in a shimmering jacket that sparkled like stardust. Her fur was flawless. Her tail swayed with confidence. She wore a tiny captain's hat, tilted just enough to be fashionable but not arrogant. Her eyes glowed like twin nebulae of sass and brilliance. I'm Captain Miozard, she purred. Welcome aboard the SS Sassapause. Try not to shed everywhere. Commander Chunk meowed nervously, a long drawn-out note that sounded like a sad trumpet. He attempted to give a respectful bow, but instead, his massive weight tilted him upside down, and he slowly somersaulted into a nearby potted plant that was somehow floating beside them. A robotic paw emerged from the wall and righted him. Mio sighed. You're lucky you're cute. Behind her, more crew members emerged. First was Barkley, a French bulldog in a spacesuit 2 sizes too small, snorting loudly with every step. Then came Featherius, a dramatic parrot with a monocle and a deep fear of popcorn. And finally, the twins Munch and Crunch, a pair of raccoons in matching leather jackets, who high-fived every 5 seconds and never stopped eating jelly beans. We picked up your signal after you fired that Mio torpedo, Miozot said, leading Chunk into the command center. Robo-mice must have tracked it too. They're aggressive these days, ever since they stole the catnip core. Commander Chunk's ears perked. He didn't know what the catnip core was, but it sounded important. The core used to power the balance of the galaxy. Featherius squawked from behind a snack dispenser. Now the robo-mice use it to fuel their empire of doom. Their cheese-shaped battlecruisers, and worst of all, their mind control collars. Mind control collars? Chunk meowed. Yes, Miozot said gravely. They strap them on helpless animals and turn them into zombie pets, who fetch on command, clean their own litter, and do even obey curfews. Chunk gasped. That was the most evil thing he'd ever heard. But there's hope, Miozot continued. Rumor has it, a resistance is forming on planet Little, the last free world of the Whiskiverse. If we get there, we might have a chance to strike back. She turned to Chunk. And we need you. He blinked out, then accidentally sat on a control panel, causing the lights to dim and the disco ball to activate. The crew stared. You'll learn, Miosat muttered, within minutes. The sassy pod zipped into hyperspeed, stars stretching into glowing streaks as they hurtled toward planet Likalot. Commander Chunk explored the ship, stuffing his face with freeze-dried anchovies, and poking buttons labeled "Do Not." He discovered the gym, tried a treadmill in zero gravity, and immediately floated into a wall. He found the armory, accidentally launched a net, and got tangled in it for 20 minutes before Munch and Crunch cut him out with their teeth. As they neared their destination, alarms rang again. A transmission came through, grainy and static. A figure appeared on screen, a flamingo, wearing sunglasses. With a headset, "This is General Flapster of the Likalot Alliance. Robomice intercepted our comms. They're headed your way. Prepare for emergency landing." The crew exchanged looks. Barkley barked in Morse code. "Buckle up." Miosart shouted. The ship dived. Planet Likalot came into view, a lush world of glowing grass, rivers of fish broth, and mountains made of frozen cream. But it wasn't peaceful. Laser beams zipped across the sky. Smoke plumed from the far side. Explosions popped like confetti. The Robomice had arrived. Sassy paws jolted hard as it breached the atmosphere. Commander Chunk gripped his armrest, belly flapping like a cape. With a thud, they crash-landed into a giant marshmallow field, bouncing twice before coming to a halt. "Everyone alive," Miosart groaned. Barkley barked. Featherius coughed up a jelly bean. Chunk farted. "All accounted for," Crunch said. Outside, Likalot was chaos. Resistance fighters, cats, dogs, otters, even a wise-looking jammer rushed through the grass, aiming fish-shaped blasters at the incoming robotic menace. From the treetops, slingshot-wielding squirrels launched nuts at drone mice. A massive robo-mouse ship hovered overhead, blasting the ground with rays of obedience. Any creature hit would freeze, then begin cleaning. One poor bunny had started folding napkins. The crew charged into battle. Chunk waddled heroically, flopping into puddles and meowing in protest every few feet. But then he spotted something. In the distance, a small kitten caught under a hover wagon, crying without thinking. He galloped forward, Belly leading the charge. Robo-mice turned, aiming their lasers. Too late. Chunk launched himself, rolled like a bowling ball, and knocked them flat. He skidded to the kitten, lifted the wagon with surprising strength. Well, technically, he rolled under it and lifted it with his gut hand. Meowed at her. The kitten blinked. "You single quotes. Him," she whispered. Chunk tilted his head. "You're the chosen Chunk." From the trees, cheers erupted. "He's real," a goat shouted. "Commander Chunk lives," squealed a hedgehog. Miosart arrived, panting. "Looks like your reputation precedes you. But I've never been here," Chunk meowed. "You have now," she grinned. Together they pushed forward. Robomice scrambled. The crew advanced. Munch and Crunch hijacked a hoverscooter and started hurling cheeseballs. Featherius dive-bombed the enemy, squawking insults. Barkley led a team of squirrels into the enemy control tent. The final battle was near. Suddenly, the sky darkened. The cloud split dot, and from above, descended the Mother Cheese, the mothership of the Robomice, a giant wedge-shaped craft, dripping molten cheddar, humming with dark energy. And in the center, encased in glowing crystal, was the catnip core. A voice boomed from the sky. "This galaxy belongs to us. Surrender your fluff." Commander Chunk stared up. His fur stood on end. "No," he whispered. "No," I said. He growled. "This galaxy belongs to the per." He leapt onto a treetop catapult, curled into a ball, and launched himself, straight toward the Mother Cheese. The air burned around him. His cape flapped wildly. He closed his eyes. Impact. Boom. He crashed into the side, rolled through corridors, and finally landed inside the central chamber right in front of the catnip core. And the Robo-King, a massive steel mouse, fangs of plasma, tail of titanium. "You are soft," the Robo-King hissed. "I am chunky," Chunk replied, and chunky means unstoppable. They charged. Paws against claws. Belly slams against robotic limbs. The room shook. Sparks flew. The catnip core pulsed with light. The fight was brutal. Commander Chunk bit, scratched, even licked. At one point he just sat on the Robo-King's head, blocking his senses. Finally, The king faltered. Chunk reached for the core, but the ship shuddered. Core breach imminent. A voice warned. He had seconds, so he did the only thing he could. He unplugged the core with his teeth. Everything went dark. Then, a flash, a boom dot, and silence dot back on Licolot. All eyes turned skyward. The mother cheese cracked apart, collapsing like a broken sandwich. Fireworks of glitter and tuna chunks rained down dot, and floating down on a parachute made of his own cape was Commander Chunk, holding the core in his paws. Everyone cheered. He landed in a pile of kittens. Exhausted, covered in bruises and fish sauce. General Flapster approached, saluting with a wing. "You've done it," he said. "You saved the fluff of a—" Commander Chunk didn't speak. He just purred, long and loud. The fat cat had found his purpose. Not chasing lasers, not napping on couches, but protecting catnip, defeating evil, and being the roundest, proudest space hero in the galaxy. It had been 7 peaceful moons since the fall of the Mother Cheese. Planet Licolot was thriving again. Fields once scorched by battle now shimmered with catnip blossoms. Glowing fish brooks bubbled with salmon smoothies. The Resistance had become the alliance of the Fluffiverse, and at its center stood one unmistakable, immovable, gloriously wide feline Commander Chunk. A monument had been built in his honor, a giant bronze belly, twice the size of the town's hover mall, with an eternal flame made of sardine-scented candles. Kids tossed tuna crackers at it for luck. Birds landed on it to take naps. Chunk himself didn't like the attention, but he absolutely loved the monument's built-in snack dispensers. Life was good too. Good because somewhere in the forgotten dark edges of the Whisperverse, a spark lit up. Pieces of the shattered Mother Cheese floated quietly through space, drifting like lonely croutons in cosmic soup. And from the largest piece, a flicker, a light, a reboot, a red glow in the darkness. The Robo-King's eyes snapped open. He wasn't gone. He was rebooted, rebuilt, and now, very, very mad. He floated silently in the ruins, scanning the debris. His circuits were burned, his armor cracked, but his hate was intact. The Chunk had humiliated him, broken his ship, stolen his core. Now, he wanted revenge, but not with lasers this time. With something worse, something ancient. The only thing Chunk could never resist. The forbidden kibble. Back on Licolot, Commander Chunk was mid-nap, lying belly up on a floating hammock made of spaghetti noodles. His snore echoed across the glade like a gentle engine. Barkley played fetch with himself nearby. Munch and Crunch were building a hover skatepark out of cheese boxes. Featherius was arguing with a toaster over Grammar. Suddenly, the sky darkened. The clouds spun into spirals. A swirling hole of purple lightning opened above the valley, and through it descended a new ship, sleek, black, shaped like a litter box. It landed with a crunch. The door opened. A single object floated down. A bag labeled, Kibble X 900% Crave. Not for weak felines. Chunk's eyes popped open. He sniffed. His nose twitched. His fur stood up. He was drawn to it like a moth to catnip-scented flame. "No," Miosart warned, rushing from the command tower. "It's a trap," but it was too late. He bit into the kibble. And time froze. Literally. The world turned gray. Birds stopped mid-flight. The trees halted their breeze. Then everything reversed. Swirling. Twisting. And suddenly, Chunk stood in a strange landscape, deserted, metallic, smelling faintly of burnt rubber and tuna cans. A voice boomed from above. "Welcome, Chunk, to the final fluffdown." It was the Robo-King. But he was different. No longer broken, upgraded, now taller, sleeker, with jet boosters, a mechanical cape, and sharp claws shaped like laserfish. "You may have destroyed my empire," he sneered, "but you'll never defeat me in the ancient rite of ... The Meowtrix, a giant arena, emerged around them. Dozens of screens, showing cats in various states of confusion. An audience of robotic mice appeared, clapping silently with tiny metal hands. A platform rose from beneath the ground. On one side, Commander Chunk, looking dazed, still chewing. On the other, Robo-King, flexing dramatically. The screen flashed. Round 1. Agility. The floor turned into a giant rotating laser grid. Lines zigzagged everywhere. Chunk stared. He sighed. Then jumped. It was not graceful. It was not fast. But it was effective. He flopped across the floor. Belly bouncing. Paws missing. Lasers by inches. Robo-King zipped and flipped, spinning like a digital ballerina. But one misstepped and he slipped. Laser to the tail. Score. Chunk 1. Robo King 0. Round 2. Mind Games. 1,000 red dots appeared, all moving. Chunk's pupils dilated. He twitched. He breathed heavily. The audience went silent. Could he resist? Could he ignore the dots? He sat still, focused dot. But then one of the dots danced in a pattern that spelled free snacks. He lunged dot. The crowd roared. The king CACK led dot tied 1-1. Round 3. Dance dash off dot. Chunk froze. He wasn't built for rhythm or movement or standing, but he had something else. Vibes. He looked Robo King dead in the eyes. Then, without warning, he twerked one cheek, then the other dot. His tail popped. His belly jiggled. Like ocean waves. Munch and crunch screamed from the screen. He's doing it. The forbidden wiggle. The Robo King tried to match the moves. He couldn't. His bolts popped. His circuits sparked. He shorted out mid-moonwalk and fell flat. Chunk bowed. Final round. Chunk wins. But before he could celebrate, the world shattered again. He woke up back in Lick-a-Lot, still on the hammock. But this time, everyone around him was frozen. Time had fractured. The Robo King had planted a time bomb in the kibble. One more second, and all of Lick-a-Lot would be permanently looped in nap mode. Only one cat could stop it. He sprinted waddled aggressively toward the palace tower. Inside, the catnip core pulsed with unstable energy. Miozart appeared as a flickering hologram. Chunk, listen. You have to purr at exactly 9.3 Hz. That frequency will stabilize the core and reset the timeline. He took a deep breath, sat down, closed his eyes, and began to purr at first. It sounded like a lawnmower choking on yarn. Then, slowly, the tone shifted deeper, stronger, like thunder rolling through pillows. The tower shook, the sky cleared, the core pulsed once more, then turned calm. Time restarted, everyone unfroze, and Lick-a-Lot was safe. Miozart stepped forward, her hologram turning real. You did it, Commander. Again. He opened one eye. Can I nap now? Absolutely. She smiled. He curled into a loaf, tail wrapped around his snout, and dozed off as the whole planet erupted in celebration. Across the Whiskaverse, statues of him were erected. Planets renamed themselves in his honor: Chunktar, Chomkonia, Fluff Prime, and somewhere deep in the shadows of forgotten space, one tiny red light blinked in the debris of Robo King's ship. But that's a tale for another time. For now, fat, brave, endlessly adorable hero sleeps. Knowing the galaxy is safe. Because of him, Commander Chunk. The fluff, the myth, the legend.